Adventure Awaits is the new nightly fireworks show at Kings Island. Any night that the park closes at 10 o'clock or later, it features fireworks, lasers, and everybody's favorite, drones. I'm Ryan Sir, along with Don Helbig, and this is Tower Topics. Don, why did it take 50 years for us to figure out that the Eiffel Tower needed lasers?
Well, it's all about technology. The things that you can do now that you couldn't have done, you know, 20, 30 years ago. It's phenomenal. It really has elevated the nighttime experience. I think, fireworks are fireworks, but when you add all those other elements to it, it makes for a terrific show. It extends your stay at the park. It's a great way to cap off a fun and memorable day at the park. And, I think it's fantastic. And in fact, I'll go as far to say that I think this year's show is the best that the park has ever had. I think even a little bit better maybe than Fun Fireworks in 50 last year.
I'm going to respectfully disagree. I think Fun Fireworks in 50 is as good as a show as the park could possibly have with the current technology. Outside of like, oh, Disney bought them and now they're doing Ever After, that sort of thing. Um, I feel like Fun Fireworks in 50 was an absolute ride. This is a 5-minute show, and I feel like if they'd put the show.
But there's a lot going
Oh,
on
no,
with
no,
it though.
there
There's a
there
lot,
is. There is.
there's some other things that weren't involved with last year's show that are involved with this year's show that I really like.
Yeah, I agree, and, like, the work with the lasers and stuff is fantastic. The thing that makes me excited about this is, first of all, this is like a 5 or 6-minute show, and they're doing it after the 50th, so it shows that level of show is sustainable. They've proven that, so now they can't backpedal on it. People fell in love with the drones, so we kinda knew that the drones were coming back. And then the lasers, man, those are just so cool. Well, let's talk about, the contents of it. It's, when they say Adventure Awaits, I thought it was gonna be more kind of adventure port themed, but it's not. I think Adventure Awaits is kind of the tagline that they're using for the entire year because I am seeing it on merchandise and stuff. But it's got an original song that kind of talks about closing out the day and stuff like that, which I think is extraordinarily appropriate. Um, but they do a couple fireworks, and then, like I said, everybody's favorite part, the drones come up. The drones do some cool stuff. They spell out Kings Island in the sky. Actually, right now, it's spelling out Carnival in the sky, which is cool. Which again shows that they're dynamic. They can do different things. And then it does some new graphics we didn't see in the past. Like it does like the kind of vortex looking looping roller coaster. It does that again. But we also see blue ice cream, which looks great. We see an antique car, which looks awesome. Soul Spin, and then I was watching it on the webcam because I'm a dork and I watch the fireworks on the webcam occasionally. And it looks like they added Windseeker. I was at the park the other day and I didn't stay till the fireworks. I left a little bit before, but they added a graphic of Windseeker, so it's so cool that they can just kind of do that. But again, like the my favorite part of the drones thing is that it's we mentioned a couple weeks ago on the Attractions Group podcast that Dollywood added the Ace 45th anniversary of CoasterCon logo to their drone show, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, and it's cool that's possible. It's probably expensive, but now we have Kings Island that both begins and ends the show. Instead of saying Kings Island, it says Carnival. And I think that's so cool. And I think there's just crazy amounts of potential. What are your thoughts with this sort of
Yeah, a lot
stuff?
of versatility. Yeah, a lot of versatility there that you can do with the drones. What I like about this year's show, I mean, last year's show was awesome,
Mm,
fantastic. Um, but when you have a show that is, 14 minutes long, I think the drones, kind of came and went,
yes.
where now it's a higher percentage of the show. So I feel the drones are more impactful. And that's, probably leading again to why I said, I lean a little bit toward this year's show.
Well, one thing that I think that was a blessing in disguise with the length of the show, and to be clear, no one expected another 22 minute show like they had yesterday. That would be insane. Or last year, yesterday. It felt like yesterday. But one thing I remember always saying, and I might have actually said this on one of our podcasts, is that my one wish list for the drones would be that they would just float the word Kings Island in the sky with the old or the new logo, as people are leaving. And obviously, with the limitations on battery power and stuff like that, they couldn't do it. But they do it with this show. They do exactly what I was talking about. So I don't know if Joe Rossi stole my idea or not, but nonetheless, they're doing it. And I think that's so cool that you can try to get that photo of the park all lit up. It says Kings Island in the sky. Um,
Yeah, it's a nice touch.
Yeah. So when we talk about there's lasers coming off of the Eiffel Tower, long overdue, and then they project things onto International Street as well as onto the Eiffel Tower. The Orion logo. They do a heart for implying they love Kings Island. They do Woodstock at the top of the right. So talking to some of the people that were involved in this, all those animations are like hand drawn. Did you know that?
Yeah, and there's like I said, just an incredible team that is involved in putting this show together, and just an incredible amount of talent there at Kings Island.
Yeah, I'm so happy for him, and I'm so glad that there is something like this, and that it's nightly. It's not hey, we're gonna do. Even Dollywood has a summer celebration, and it's like 5 weeks, and that's when they do their drones and fireworks. Yeah, Kings Island, you have about 3 months of them. So that's really cool. Um, so when they take you on this ride through basically your day at the park. I've always wondered, and let me get your opinion on this. And obviously, you weren't a producer of the show; you didn't have a pony in the race. But no, they didn't make the drones make a Beast logo, a Diamondback logo. Like, why anti cars, Soul Spin, and Windseeker of all rides?
Well, that probably you know is easier to create, in an amount of time that you have to put that up there. So I don't know. That might have something to do with it. But yeah, I mean, it would. That's an idea. Have the Beast logo and Diamondback and Mystic Timbers and some of those others that you can incorporate into it. But you only have so much time,
Right.
to put that together. So, I think it's really well structured. I think with what they do with it. Sometimes you go to, you've seen some drone shows at other places, and I'm not talking just, our industry here, but
Mhm.
other places that do drone shows, and there's a disconnect. It doesn't flow,
Oh yeah.
smooth or something. There's always like, why is that part there? And it should have been, no, they did a really good job here from start to finish putting this show together.
Yeah, I completely agree. And both this year and last year, they did a very good job of having both. I remember the first drone show I saw at Dollywood was 2 years ago at Dollywood, and they had fireworks and then drones for quite a while, and then fireworks again. Um, and it worked because no one had seen drones before. But they integrated the two together for both Fun Fireworks and 50 as well as this, mainly probably because they're like a half mile away from each other, to be honest with you, because they're probably the launch site for Wildwood Grove is very close to where they take off the drones and so on. But I feel like as people get more accustomed to the drones, that 5 minutes in the middle where it's making animations would be the slow part of the show. Yeah, that would be my fear if they ran with that formula for a really long time. So the fountain too. Like I feel like we've forgotten the fact that the fountain dances along with the nightly show. Like, isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's the most underrated part of the show is the fire or is the fountain and what you can do with that in conjunction with the fireworks and the drones and just make it a total package on International Street.
So going into the fountain, and I'm sure that we'll probably do an episode on the fountain and talk about the decision to change it. Um, I remember like the phraseology that was used with the fountain was that it was going to be a day and night show. Was there ever discussion of having dancing fountains or anything like that, or was it always kind of be that it's did patterns and stuff?
I didn't get too involved with what it was going to be,
Mm.
after you're talking about after the change, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like when they did the International Street revamp.
Yeah, I mean, there's different, different programs and things you can work with, and I think it's just picking what you want to do at that time. So, those that are involved in that decision, that wasn't something that, you know, came to my office to talk about how it should look.
Well, right. I was wondering if you had heard anything because they shoot ideas around and stuff. But
No,
it seems like as the company gets bigger, because I remember when you first started there, you had a hand in a lot of pots, but the company is twice as big as it was at the time. And it seems like we've got a corporate team for nightly shows. We've got a corporate team for special events, stuff like that. So it doesn't surprise me that you're like, when they
no,
put it
and
in, I was
and
surprised too. But that's got to be
yeah,
kind
but
of
I mean,
cool in
no, I
some
mean, you would hear
regards.
about it, and you knew what you needed to have to promote it and everything. But you put a lot of talented people together. You talk about a corporate team or whatever doing that, and you've seen the results the last couple years. With Fun Fireworks 50, this year's show, Fourth of July shows. You see what it can be. When you have that kind of talent all in the same room working on it.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I really do. So, we talk about that. We talk about how much we enjoy the show. Let me give a brief rundown for those of you who don't know how a show like that works. So the core of it is called time code. So time code is the language that all the lights and everything else uses to communicate. I think that for pretty much all of Kings Island, they use like CB radio frequencies. So you've got one person back at the fireworks site, which, as you probably know, is backed by Orion. The drone launch site is where kind of like where the turnaround going to the lift hill for Vortex was. And then you have all the lights on International Street and the fountain. The time code tells each light to turn on and off, what color it should be, which firework to launch, everything like that. It all speaks the language of the time code. But the drones are a little bit different. So I've never, full disclosure, I have worked for Rosie's in the past. They did not have drones at the time. But from what I've gathered, from what Joe Rosie and others have told me, is the drones have a program that they do, and then it hits that time code of, all right, time to go, and they go. And then they don't listen to anything else until they land again. So and that's part of the reason why they don't communicate with each other. They just have GPS coordinates as to where to go. So there's a pre-programmed like 3D modeling program that tells the drones where to go. That's how they can create these uh patterns and stuff in the sky without crashing into each other, because that was thought about. But if a drone loses GPS at any point, it just lands exactly where it is. So that's why every once in a while you'll see like a red dot just descend from the sky, and it'll probably land over by the beast or something. And they usually retrieve them, and it's usually very, very eventless. But the fireworks and stuff like that technically read the code as it comes in. So I always thought that that was an interesting tidbit. I wanted to bring that up just for the tech heads that kind of wondered how they do it, to get a little peek behind the curtain. So where do you see the future of the nightly shows, Don? Like, what if you were going to add one more piece of technology? What would you throw in there?
You know, I mean, there's a lot of ideas and things that, you hear on the board and stuff, but, I really don't know what else you could do with it at this point in time. Now, 5 years from now, yeah, there's going to be something that's new. The drones are going to be, just kind of, okay, we've all seen
Hmm.
that. What's next? So it'll be interesting to see what develops and what else you can incorporate. Where they do it at, with International Street, kind of the stage for that gives you a lot of options. You got the buildings to work off of, you got the Eiffel Tower to work off of. Um, so a lot of opportunity there for the future, and that's a great thing, because a lot of parks don't have that luxury of having, something like that where you have all of those different elements to work with to put on your nighttime show. You're just kind of in a spot and, look over the hill and there's your fireworks, So I think there's a lot of opportunity there moving forward.
I completely agree. So yeah, adventure awaits. It's the nightly fireworks show. Starts promptly at 10 o'clock any night that Kings Island closes at 10 o'clock or later for the regular season. Obviously, they do not do it for Haunt and Winterfest. So make sure you check it out. I guess through Labor Day ish. I'm not looking at the calendar, but uh,
Yeah, Labor Day.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, cool. Well, every night the park closes at 10 o'clock or later.